Very light positioning today. $1,500. 72.50. I'd like to see 72.50. We opened at 39. Straddles at 25. NQ still moving up, while SPX and ES has topped out as of last Friday so far. So a bit of a divergence here, and ES looks like it's trying to follow. But Gamma is back to where it is when the market is supportive for the most part. No crazy sporadic down move without negative Gamma. Not a whippy environment either. About 10 points higher would be about 8.2. Okay, might give that a shot. Upside pivot rejection. NQ is still on a rocket ship. VIX is coming down after yesterday's spike up. $72.57. Oh, positioning is changing quite a bit here after the Koshik. Yeah, it was extremely light positioning. It's still extremely light positioning. But positioning has changed quite a bit here. I would like to see a reversion play off of 72.57, which is Alma's upside pivot. Based on this, I say maybe 50, 55. I'm not willing to bet on it. Not at 50. Even though we could revert here. Straddle was 25 points. Straddle's about 23 points now. very light positioning, light positive gamma, but we are in a positive gamma environment. And when we're in a positive gamma environment, you're less likely to have like sporadic moves. That's there was a video that Vol Signals posted last night, I believe. And it was just his latest video, and he was talking about how there was the March April regime, early April regime, like the March early April regime, where we saw a lot more negative gamma from a day-to-day perspective. And it's normally from heightened volatility. And then now that we're in like a more stable kind of market, it's very supportive and positive gamma. So you're less likely to see crazy sporadic moves. The only times you'll see a crazy sporadic move is if news hits and it's pretty light gamma, light positive gamma, and or negative. NQ is still making new highs every day. Negative positioning cluster here between 72.35 all the way up to 72.60 potentially. We're in the thick of it. Yeah, Alma's main bet today is choppy price action around the centroid. And around the centroid, we are looking at a centroid of 72.19 SPX. Secondary bet is a reversion from above. Our upside pivot, she was expecting it to be significantly high probability reversion line. However, at 72.40, if spot momentum can be slowed down locally and just chop around 72.40 for a lengthy period of time, it can break above the pivot. And right now, it seems like we're kind of chopping around that 72.40, 50 range. Weird how YM is pulling back. taking a quick look at bookmap, and NQ has a decent amount of sitting orders at 28,100, while ES has a large amount of sitting orders at 7280. Yeah, very bullish indeed. Pretty massive gap up too. I would have liked to see us come down a little to kind of flirt with the gap, maybe half gap. I think the centroid's sitting at half gap. YM is still pulling back, but NQ is just on a rocket ship. Yeah, and one thing that you end up seeing on the top right hand corner is the daily options positioning, and you can just see that they're selling vol up there, so it's like guaranteed money for whatever fund that is selling vol up there. So they're selling options or premium harvesting, which essentially sets a call wall way up there. Oh, and now there is a massive wall at 72.85 that just came on. This looks like it might be part of an iron condor because this is a call credit spread. Call credit spread from the customer side. So they're just collecting premium, hoping that price action goes nowhere near there. Or just stays underneath that 72.85 level. But at least now we know we have an intraday top potential at 72.85. Yeah, NQ is rough. Like, there's no data. I hope to get one on ES, and I would like to play it downwards, but so I'll pay attention to this. Can I get news? Ooh, thanks for that. I did not. I didn't look at the financial juice yet. getting close to the upside pivot, but still got a little bit. Oh, YM is on the rise now after taking some liquidity. It's just a intraday swing low, so nothing too major there. Yeah, that 100 level, that the orders that were at 28,100 got hit, pulled back about 30 points, and then we went right back up. 72.80 starting to lighten up. So 10 points up from here. Yeah, if you're looking at the gamma chart on the left here, I'm just zooming quite a ways out. Breakdown by strike didn't zoom out as much, but the 73.50 level at that massive. Oh shoot, you can't even see it here. But yeah, that 73.50 level had massive orders or massive positions there, and it was the premium collection. So this is your ultimate call wall, if you will. And this is the hedge for it. So they're just collecting a ton of premium. But we're talking about very little premium too. Like, that's why there's such massive sizing. I think the sizing is about 30,000 in size. But the positioning might only be like $1 or something, or $2. So they might still be collecting millions on it because of the sizing alone. And if the premium is $1, that's really $100 per position. And yeah, that would be like $3 million for the market to hold under 73.50. Suppose that's how a lot of big funds trade, but it also puts us in like a positive gamma landscape when there's so much vol selling or premium collection strategies that are in play. Much like the iron condor, the 72.85, 72.90, that's the call credit spread. The put credit spread is probably somewhere down there. Haven't seen it yet. Few minutes to news. POC has already migrated up here. Intraday. Oh, Discord. Yeah. Continuation play. Nice. How'd you select the take profit? Oh, I see. Okay. The YM looks like it wants to push up, testing the around high of day. NQ. Not sure what NQ is doing. NQ's kind of like doing this little consolidation here. Saved by one tick. That's amazing. Yeah, I do like your take profit. Your take profit is almost perfect for the upside pivot. This is looking like a disgusting no trade day already. and paper trades, you get saved by one tick all the time. It's amazing how that works. Because if you took that in an evaluation or in a funded account, that tick would have definitely hit. All right, NQ looks like it's got another push here. YM is kind of pulling back a little, but maybe it's just pulling back for the move up. A lot of consolidation here. Yeah, I still like a potential rejection between 72.55, 72.60, based on what I'm seeing in positions, the positioning cluster. So about 5 points up from here. NQ is not following yet. Actually, not sure what it's doing. Oh, that was a very nice push there on ES, supported by YM. Very slow, so still very extremely bullish. NQ is struggling here. YM is carrying ES. Let's see if NQ can find some volume. That's perfect, right, Koshik? I think you got it. Nice. With one tick to spare for the stop loss too. Amazing. It's like you're the market maker, as ICT always says. That was great. We can still climb here. Let's see. Give me a few more points. Oh, damn. Okay. It's gonna be like that. Instant. I think the reversion has a little bit more. Wow, that didn't really give much of a chance to enter on ES there. I didn't get any on my live account, but I just kind of market entered NQ on the eval. So I consider myself very lucky at least catching on the eval, but unlucky I didn't catch on my live. I was staring at it for a little too long. I take 50 points on NQ. Oh man, that's very disappointing for me. Because we were talking about a rejection, like, yeah, almost like your take profit was like the perfect time to reverse. It's amazing, actually. I'm telling you, market maker behavior by Koshik. For me, I really just, I knew Alma's level was up there. And she said high probability reversion right there. But what really supported it for me was the gamma chart. And just paying attention to these bubbles here. I call them bubbles. They're not bubbles, sorry. It's a zero gamma line. And the zero gamma line has a level here at the end of the day for 72.57. I don't know why this works, but it works. Oftentimes you get bounces off these edges, which lines up also with the cluster edge that we saw. So a few moments ago, we saw that 72.55, 72.60 was likely the edge of the cluster at the time. And around there is always a good time to short, especially if you see something, some confluence. Wow, that's coming right back. So I'm very glad I took profit on that one account. One eval. 77. Oh, to short. Is that correct? Yeah, it's a short 2-minute. Yeah, there's like a decent 1-minute one too at 77-ish. Oh my goodness, it just goes. In what world? See, there's something that Alma saw pre-market that shows there's like a potential inflection point for how price action behaves or how market makers behave or something like that, for her to like pick up on that in advance. See, the pivot is expected to be a significantly high probability reversion line. At 72.40, however, spot momentum can be slowed down locally. So the first TP would have to be 72.40. And then with a potential other take profit at Centroid, which is about half gap. But if we consolidate here, there's a chance that we continue the rise up. This market just, it seems to move in like spurts, like little bursts. $72.50 ES. Let's see where that takes us. 72.50. That's about what, 30 points? 25. So 72.25. 72.25. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. 72.25. At that point, I would think 72.25, 72.20 on SPX if we get there. Now the question is, what do we do around the 72.40 level on SPX? Decent SMT also between ES and NQ. Actually, your level 72.50 makes more sense to me now, looking at the positioning, because 72.50 would be roughly 72.25 on SPX. I think there's about a 25 point difference or so, and that's the next largest positioning in dealer negative positioning. Just wanted to go back to Alma's levels. Get the pivot above, and then the center at 72.20-ish, and 2.5 is about, let me measure what half gap actually is. 72.20. It would be half gap, roughly. Interesting push here. That's the 1 minute fair value gap. So if we're going to reject somewhere, this would be it. If it is a continuation down, that is. I don't like that we're on the other side of this 72.50. $72.50 level. Holy smokes. Six bullish. Wow. Definitely should have hit reverse on NQ. My goodness. And now it looks like we're headed into the positive, a deep positive gamma area that's been newly added. Unreal. Wait, did you end up entering? I had an ES position that I was hanging on to on the other account, thinking there would be more downside, but that got completely wiped out. Yeah, that's a good thing you didn't enter. Very good. I probably shouldn't have held. But that one was an ES position that I was holding. Yeah, I think you not entering is great because that candle at around 1018 tested the 1 minute fair value gap. It's a pretty large fair value gap. It wasn't quite the 1 minute IFVG, but when we did that SMT at the bottom on the 1 minute between ES and NQ, it was a bit worrisome for my further downside on that ES play on the other account. And when it came up and tapped the IFVG on the 1 minute and the rest of the 1 minute fair value gap, it's a bit riskier in my opinion, because we had already tapped the 1 minute fair value gap one time. And then we also had the SMT at the lows, at the 1 minute lows, so. YM on the 1 hour looks very grindy. It's been grinding up all night long. Or all day long for you. Discord. 20 period. Volume weighted moving average on 15-minute is good for TPs. 20 period volume moving average. Volume weighted moving average. I see. I personally haven't even tried that. But I like anything volume. Period volume weighted moving average 15-minute. Yeah, I see that. It kind of lines up well on the with the 15-minute ADMA. It does kind of diverge at some points. Like the 15-minute EMA kind of helps define the trend for the most part, but any major pullback seems to run through the 15-minute ADMA and then runs towards like a VWAP or the volume weighted moving average. So it's kind of cool because it's my guess is that overnight is low volume, which is why the volume weighted moving average tends to kind of lag below the 15-minute ADMA. But right now they're pretty much the same. Since 9:30, they look exactly the same. Oh, you use open high low close. I see. Give me 1 sec. Oh, currently it's just set to close. Open high low close divided by 4. I don't know that I'm seeing too much of a difference here. Like currently, it lines up reasonably with the ADMA. But I understand why you would use the volume weighted moving average version. Another rejection of this upside pivot here. I'm still not happy I didn't get that on my live account. That really bothers me. It gave me a few minutes to think about it, but I just didn't pull the trigger quick enough because I was executing on the other accounts. Yeah, I do like the volume weighted moving average. It's not bad. But I have way too many things on my chart. Yeah, this upside pivot's looking real good. I would say we got a really nice rejection off the pivot already. Good for about, what, 10, 13 points, 14 points. And now we're hovering around here. NQ looks like it's still trying to push up. YM looks like ES at the moment. Let's go back to the options depth chart. $72.50 came off quite a bit there. About half of its sizing came off. So $72.50. It's customers that are long calls, so they're betting on upside. If we move under here, I kind of want to see us run down towards that 72.25. And Koshik, that's your level. I think it coincides with the 72.50 that you mentioned. It's all dependent on 72.50. It's kind of like the largest strike around here in terms of position size. Upside pivot. So once you break past the upside pivot and hold, then you're likely to visit the upside target if it's within the range. But Alma did note today that out of like the 5 scenarios she gave us, the fourth, so the first one being the most probable, which is choppy price action around the centroid. Second one was secondary bet is a reversion from above, and that would be the upside pivot, I believe. Since she said that the upside pivot is expected to be significantly high probability reversion line. And then third is a downside retest. Fourth is a upside pivot break. So her fourth scenario, which is out of the 5, so she thinks it's probably the least probable. So she didn't think the upside pivot was likely going to hit today. And it sounds like she's not betting on a downside pivot break either. So just a move around the centroid for the most part. Now, one thing I would note is that Alma's pivots and centroids, they kind of mean different things. Like today you can bet on a reversion, and she says that explicitly off the upper or upside pivot. But there's some days that she says the centroid is highly reversionist. So you can play a reversion trade off of the centroid. But today it's not the case. For the centroid, she says the centroid at 72.19, this is a sticky zone between 71.95 and 72.35 during the PM session. So it's not always, I wouldn't say it's very consistent in what the upside pivot means on a day-to-day basis. Like you can't always play a reversion off of it. But generally, when we do take out a pivot, she would, in theory, look for upside if it was like high probability, for instance. And when she says high probability, she means like the positioning supports it, the volatility supports it, and what she sees underlying based on the various derivatives that she takes. But given that today, if we break to the if we break above the upside pivot, I don't think she would take a long today, because it is not her main bet or high probability bet. Yesterday, I think she mentioned the downside pivot as being, I think, what was her wording? It wasn't low probability. It was just above low. So like medium probability reversion. We didn't end up reverting off of it. And I think we actually busted through it and then went up. It went up back to the upside pivot. Back up to the downside pivot. And we kind of just moved around that pivot, if I remember correctly. which is why if you do use her levels, I would say you have to take it with a grain of salt in terms of like what she's actually saying in the text on her daily overviews, or have your own. Well, you should always have your own entry model. If you're new to the stream, say hello. Hey, Pablo. Have you been trading today, Pablo? What would you say is your style of trade? Like, do you kind of do like an ICT style? You work off of GEX, gamma exposure, volume profile, pivots. How do you select your pivots? Oh, you want to learn ODTE? I see. I used to trade ODTE a lot, but there are days that you end up with like some choppy price action, kind of like today. And if you kind of take the trade at a wrong place, you can basically theta burn the entire time or the entire day off your ODTE, which is one of the things that I didn't really love about ODTE, especially because if you're right, but the timing was kind of incorrect, you can be bleeding out theta. So your premium would just be depleting essentially. So I've always like, I end up gravitating towards futures as a result. But don't get me wrong, ODTE is great, especially if you want to leverage. You want to leverage up and possibly if you see something like a convex kind of trade where the premium looks like it's mispriced and then you're expecting a big move, that's when you kind of reap the benefits of ODTE. But yeah, there are definitely a lot of people that do find success with ODTE. I also know people that short ODTE too. So they're not just playing long calls and long puts naked. They end up shorting to collect premium instead, because it's higher probability, especially if you go further out. How did you find us, Pablo? Yeah, that seems to be how a lot of people find this stream. But glad you're here. This is not Gex in the traditional sense that you might be familiar with. If you've ever followed guys like Vol Signals or OptionsDepth, they kind of model how, I guess, market maker hedging for the most part. Yeah, Koshik found me through Gex too. I think most of the people that find the stream, they use Gex as the keyword. I don't know that most stay though, because it's definitely a different form of gamma. Like, this is technically the way that dealers hedge or market makers hedge, in the way that it's being shown on let me move it over here. Yeah, on the left side you have the gamma chart. In the middle you have the positioning. So this is what the options positioning actually look like right now. The left side is negative dealer positioning, and the right side is positive dealer positioning. So when you think about it, the customer positioning would be the exact opposite, right? So for instance, if we're looking at this master sizing here at 72.85, you get 10,000 dealer long positions, which is actually a customer short. So they're collecting premium. So this to me is a customer call credit spread, is what it's called, or a short put spread, short call spread. And one of the things that I think, like when I first started, and I think Koshik asked me this too, was why do I look at the net positioning? It says this is the net positioning, so it's like the sum of the calls and the puts that are shorts, and then the sum of the calls and puts that are long. And the question was like, why do you look at the net as opposed to the individual calls and puts? And to a market maker, if a customer is short calls or short puts, it's treated the exact same way to hedge on the market maker side. And then the same with the longs. Customer long puts or customer long calls, they act the exact same way to market makers, which is why I normally look at just the net. And then on the right side here, you have charm, which blue is supportive. So generally you're going to get like an upward drift into blue. Not 100% of the time, obviously, but because it's not the only flow in the game. And then in the yellow, you have suppressive charm, which basically means market makers have to sell futures in order to hedge their portfolio. But yeah, in general, we're pretty much in a positive gamma landscape. I don't think that's new to anyone. It looks relatively light because of the white space, but if I hover over it, you can see the value on the top left hand corner. It says price, and then delta change per 2.5 points is 161. So this is all positive gamma. And then when you see the red, it's negative gamma. But that's like a quick crash course, and then you can ask whatever questions you like. And we're here to learn from one another, basically. I'm always curious how others trade, and Koshik's been sharing his experiences with me. The red gamma area, it's considered negative gamma. So when price action migrates into the negative gamma area, let's say the price action is moving down in this case, and it's at like 2 p.m. Let's say we're at 72.37 and we're moving down. You tend to get more trendy or sporadic price action here, because in negative gamma, dealers short, like dealers contribute to the down move. So as price goes down, dealers have to sell futures. And as price goes up, dealers have to buy up futures. So you tend to get more sporadic moves in negative gamma. So for instance, like we were in a negative gamma regime after like what, March? For most of March, I believe we were in a negative gamma regime. And then early April, we were starting to transition between negative gamma to positive gamma. And now we are primarily in positive gamma. And you only see pockets of negative gamma. So when volatility is high, you normally you're in a negative gamma environment. Yeah, in the blue, you have like slow grindy movement for the most part. And typically it likes to drift towards like a dark blue if dealer hedging flows were the only flow in the game. But dealer hedging flows are not the only flows in a game. Obviously, there's many other flows, but this is what we have to work with from a gamma perspective. But anyways, positive gamma, as price goes up, dealers have to sell futures in order to hedge their positions. And then if price goes down in positive gamma, dealers have to buy. So which kind of creates that slower movement effect, almost like a pin-ish type of effect. Yeah, this morning, Koshik had a good trade to trade upwards. He played some continuation, I think, off of the 10 o'clock candle. I think it was a 4-hour trade, right, Koshik? And then I played a down move at about like 10-12. Played in 2 accounts, 2 evals. One of them was NQ, which I closed for about 50 points. And then on ES, I let that one go, and then I ended up getting stopped out, which is unfortunate. I believe I was trying to bet on more downside, basically, and didn't see it. So one account's good, one account's bad. Both evals. I was a little disappointed because I didn't take it on my live account, which kind of blows. Yeah, Koshik gave a really nice definition there for positive gamma. Much better when you can copy paste it or screenshot it. Yeah, for the most part, this stream, I can't say there's like an entertainment factor to this stream. But Koshik and I has just been trading chats back and forth for the most part, which makes it entertaining to us. And a lot of times we're just learning off of each other, which is kind of nice. I'm going to run and grab some tea too, so give me 1 second. All right, I'm back. Closest straddle to 1025. Let me check. This is 11 o'clock, 1025. Straddle price at 1025 was around, I'd say maybe 21. Currently, it's sitting at 16. If it's sitting at 16, I'm beginning not to trust this straddle graph. This was done at 11 o'clock. Okay. 6 minutes ago. And it's at 18, let's say. Aside from that, no one's been checking the straddle price. So I can't give you like a take aside from that straddle spot graph. Not seeing any trades though. Unless it's to, I guess, the upside. It's just been an upside grind for the most part. The straddle high I had marked out this morning was at 72.63. That makes sense. 72.63. In theory, it could be 72.6465 if it's a 25-point straddle. Yeah, it's very slow. Holy smokes. Just hovering around that upside pivot for the most part. VIX is staying pretty low too, at like 17.4-ish on average. Sizable gap from Monday to Tuesday on VIX. I thought we would actually head up to fill that VIX gap by filling the SPX gap, but just not moving. Doesn't seem to want to move towards that blue positive gamma strike cluster. Like we're just hovering around here. 72.60, 59. And maybe the positioning will change. Yeah, and I'm looking at Alma's chat right now, and it looks like a lot of people took that upside pivot short. And some of them were holding to the centroid. Much like I was holding that other account, I guess. Yeah, and there's a reasonable amount of people in Alma's chat that do take ODTs. I'm actually not sure why they're not trading futures, especially on a day like today. And this to me looks like it wants to head up towards that 7270, 7280 area. Even from a charm perspective. Mind you, charm isn't too heavy right now. It starts picking up at around 2 o'clock. But I can see us also settling around 72.40-ish under there. I'll give Claude an intraday update and see what Claude thinks. But Claude in the morning was saying that it's another light positioning session. So it's better not to trade any flies. But if it's forced to pick a fly, it would say 72.50, 72.60 remains the pivot, which happens to be where the daily trough is. Yeah, around here. But it's suggesting not to trade any pins for the end of the day. I only have it set to give me pins, which is playing like a butterfly. Since the butterfly would cost like somewhere around like $1 to $2 in premium, and then the payoff is like 7 times or 10 times that if it pins at the correct location. But oftentimes you'd be out most positions like at 100%. So NQ retested its high there. Equal highs on NQ. ES didn't touch the highs, the high of day. In a market like this, it's really hard to go long because I feel like at any moment there could be news that just tanks us down. Like some headline news about Iran. Actually, it looks like Trump was on about 10 minutes ago. Said, we're doing very well in Iran. Stock market hit all-time highs today despite the skirmish. Iran lacks air defense and leadership capabilities. I assume this is right after he signed proclamation. Trump signs proclamation restoring presidential fitness test award. Yeah, even Vol Signals is talking like I think I remember I think I mentioned the Vol Signals video from this morning. Actually, I think it was from last night, and he was basically flagging, hey, we're in a more stable regime now, but would we expect a massive downside move or a very stable regime that resembles the summer regime, which is a very positive gamma environment? And it looks like he is saying that he thinks that we are in a more stable regime in the positioning. And dips are shallower. Market drift engaged. Will take a sizable vol spike to change my mind now. So it's almost like we're in that summer doldrum, as they say. But yeah, they don't seem to think that volatility will kick up. It's almost like very summer-like environment. Which means it's going to act a lot like this, unfortunately. And we've been seeing that over the past week, eh, Koshik? Maybe even longer. We're still sitting around this upside pivot of Almas. Underneath the straddle high. Yeah, just not a lot going on in terms of price action. I don't think I can even fish for a trade here. I do think it's going to be a positive drift towards 72.70. Definitely susceptible to headline risks, as always. It says we hit 5 concurrent viewers, but only four sitting in here. If you're new, please say hi. Yeah, Koshik, this is the iron condor. It's the other half of the iron condor. So you get the call credit spread up here, or short call spread, and then the short put spread. And this will yield max profit as long as price is between 72.85 and 71.70. And max profit is probably somewhere around like a dollar, maybe $1.50. Highest I've seen is probably $2 whenever this guy puts it on, assuming this is Captain Condor. His sizing sure seems like it's Captain Condor. About 10,000 in sizing, 9,000 in sizing. So if it's about let me see, 9,000 in sizing, let's say it's $1.50, so 150, then he would yield about 1.3 mil from this trade. But the only problem is you need a lot of money to be able to trade this many positions on SPX. I'll stick around for a little bit, but I'm thinking about calling it a day. Decent pullback there. $72.50. I like the 15-minute close, but I think any move already happened at that point. I wasn't paying close enough attention to that. Slight VIX up off that 11:30 move down. Funny that ES we have IFVG created on the 1 minute. And I'm not taking anything here. I don't like any trades. YM did a nice 5-minute top wick at 11:05. Been pushing down ever since. Exact straddle at open. I think I recorded it around 25. Yeah, 25 points. Yeah, and we opened around 72.39 on SPX. $250. Yeah, I think 72.50 is the main pivot here. On SPX, that is. So just going back to Alma's weekly review, I think Claude was able to summarize it as Monday to Friday upside drift. Upside drift, mechanical and structural, relatively low vol. So low volatility. Thursday, the turbulent outlier, most likely session for a pullback or intraday reversal. Vol feedback loops activate. Friday, high realized vol, but mean reverting. If price ran up during the week, expect Friday retests range bound resolution in the base case. Yeah, NQ looked like it was a cleaner up today. Even then, it's quite messy on NQ. YM, all the weakness was from YM for the most part. Yeah, today would be a good day for ODTE to like just bleed out theta. The theta burn kind of day. Market's barely moving. You might be able to get like 20%, maybe even 40% on some trades, depending on where you get in. But I think this would have been an easier day to play with. Futures. I'm going to try to feed this into Claude and see what Claude thinks about this. I personally still think it's like an upward drift towards 72.70, maybe even 80. Yeah, it's basically saying that 72.85 position is the wall. It's the call wall. So that's the cap on upside, but we're talking about 25 points higher here if it should hit the call wall. Maybe 30, actually 30 points higher. It's recommending a midday ODTE butterfly at 72.60 center. You buy the 72.50 calls, you buy one, you sell two 70.60 calls, and then you buy another 72.70 call. So the max profit would be 72.60 with an option to go slightly lower, so centered at 72.50 instead. But it seems to think that this range, we're going to stay in this range. All right, see you later, Koshik. I think I'm going to cut out too. I'm going to give this a few more minutes and then I'll probably cut out. And then we'll see you tomorrow. Very slow price action. We'll probably cut out in the next 5 minutes or so, and then resume the stream tomorrow. $72.50 is the pivot right now. We can move below that. I think we have a chance to hit 72.25. Gonna be a nasty one hour close. That's a top wick potentially. If that's the case, I might consider a short, but it's gonna be slow. The risk would be about 6 points. We close around here. Got an SMT. Generally looks okay for a potential short here. SMT between ES and NQ highs. It's really just a high divergence for the most part. But I still think 72.50 is the pivot. It's the largest position size there. $72.50, and currently we're sitting around $72.53. If we can cross there, stay below, then we might see move to 25 SPX. 1 hour looks okay. I like that the ES and NQs diverged here. I would say in general, no trade day based on this chop. But I got lucky with one trade, so. "47 seconds until the 1 hour candle closes. And let's see how that one plays out. 15-minute 8 EMA support so far. I don't really know if I want to take this 6-point stop loss. And there's a chance here. But let's give it a shot. See how this goes. Playing with profits. Otherwise, I would not enter this trade. And we're still not below 72.50. Yep. Positive drift up. 72.50 still holding pretty well. I'm not expecting this to break down. I just wanted to give it a shot just for the heck of it. POC is just grinding up here. $72.70 still seems like the drift up to me. Claude seems to think that it's around $72.50, $72.60 based on the pre-market positioning. Even after the intraday update that I gave Claude, it still thinks that it believes that the positioning confirms a 72.50 to 72.60 pin. Yep, definitely doesn't look like a good trade here. Again, I wouldn't typically take this trade, especially if I wasn't in profit. This definitely seems like a positive drift up. VIX is coming down too. $72.50. Sizing's still there. I think the positive drift is just way too strong. The fade today. But it's also hard to go long too. Yeah, price action is just hugging the 15-minute ADMA all the way up. No real pullbacks. Any pullback is very shallow, but 72.50 has been holding strong so far. All right, I think I'm cutting out. I'm done. I was taking the trade until my stop loss hits, but I'm pretty much done. Nothing happening here. Still believe in the upside drift for the most part. Upside drift towards 72.70, which is funny how it's coming off a little here. 72.85 would be the next possible drift, but it's got quite a bit to overcome to get to 72.85. I knew 72.25 wasn't likely to hit, especially because the straddle doesn't price that in. Like, the straddle is only expecting maybe a 10, 12, 13 point move at most right now. So 13 points up, 72.70. And yeah, 13 points down, probably. Oh, Pablo, you're still here. Holy smokes. Yeah. So yeah, I'll see you tomorrow if you're around. Koshik is probably going to be here. We stream every day from about market open through to around 11 to 12 lunchtime. Take care, Pablo.